Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news. As we talk something very serious tonight, we have got updates on your transfer news, but we've also got updates on what many of you have been talking about this week. A new bid for Manchester United. Michael Knighton did a video this week, I believe, on YouTube, and we've had an exclusive interview with him on the United Stand website. Big shout out to Adam who did it, and Jamie who's part of that as well. I pinned the link in the chat for you where you can read the full exclusive interview, but the written word and YouTube are two different mediums, and I wanted to go through some of the quotes tonight and discuss it with you because, you know, it's a Friday night show. Friday night show is a bit different. We like to have a bit of a Q&A and a bit of back and forth. And I thought, you know, what better way to do it? Because the future of Manchester United is not just Erik ten Hag. It's not just transfers. It's been a really bad transfer window. But this is 17 years in the making with the Glazers. This has been going on for a very long time. There are football fans that have fought this battle against the Glazers way before I or you did. You know, when the Glazers took over United, I was living in Ireland at the time, and you know, I watched United on a Saturday afternoon, but I can't say I was ever going to be going over and, you know, getting involved in protests and stuff like that. It was a different time for me. So this has been going on for a long time, and I think most of us have always known the Glazers were bad for Manchester United. They're very bad for Manchester United. How do we get them out? And I think when you look at social media this week, there's been a lot of people talking about walking out of Old Trafford against Liverpool, which I think is completely impractical. You can't have these campaigns starting on Twitter. It needs universal support. But we've also had this bid, this hostile bid that's going to go in from Michael Knighton on a YouTube video. And I think that what we've interviewed him. So I was part of the questions. I didn't do the interview, but I was contacted this morning by Adam and Jamie who run the website, and they were like, is there any questions you want to put to, you would like us to put to him? And I put a few forward, and one of those questions was, if, you know, who's behind this bid? If you do get hold of Man United and there's an investment fund, they will want a return on that. So what's different to the Glazers with that? So we'll go through it. And you know, if you're not interested in this sort of thing, you're not interested in Manchester United's future, that's up to you. We will talk about transfers a little bit later, but lots and lots of people have been on about it this week. I've had a lot of people, you know, attacking me, I suppose, in a way, which I'm used to, saying, you know, why aren't you getting behind this? Why aren't you getting behind that? And the truth of the matter is, welcome to the Members Club, Rob, by the way, and let him buy it. He used to own a circus. He has relevant experience as Josh Newton, and we are all entitled to our own opinion, but I think we should all back this bid, says Nick. Well, let's go through that, Nick. But the way I work is, I don't want to judge anybody who's trying to unite the fan base and get the Glazers out. First of all, you know, I'll listen to anybody who's got a plan to do that. And this is one plan. And I will tell you now, I know of two other plans. One, I'm sort of spoken to them. Another one I'm quite involved in. They might not work. And over the last 5 years, there's probably 3 or 4 plans that haven't worked. So there's always things going on, but I would never hear something and go, this is the one to get behind, because it's ridiculously hard. And I think that's one. Look, what I will say is, I don't know whether this bid from Michael Knighton that he's trying to put together, I don't know whether it will be looked on in a few months' time as, remember that joke in the summer, or whether it will actually lead to something. But at the end of the day, does it really matter if it creates the conversation? And I think that is what he is trying to do. I think he is trying to create a conversation to put pressure on the Glazers and try and get it into the United fans. Because one positive I would say, whether he's a bullshitter or whether he's going to achieve what he wants, and I don't know which way it's going to go, it has created a conversation that wouldn't have been there this week. We would have just been talking about Rabiot or Rashford or Ronaldo or Arnautovic. And actually, fans have been galvanised to start thinking about things like uniting the fan base and actually, you know, making change. So let's go through some of that and see what he said. Hi Mark, just wanted to say thank you for informing us. I think honestly you're the only channel I see that gets most news correctly, bro, says Night Owl. I don't know about that, but thank you. Mark, we're buying Rabiot for 17 million and Basuma costed just about 5 or 10 million more, says Anish. Well, can we talk about transfers in a little bit? Because we are actually talking about what a lot of people have been asking me to talk about all week, and I didn't want to talk about it because I wanted to get a little bit more detail, and we actually have that detail now. So let's go through some of that. And I think the first thing is to talk about the bid, and this is the first quote I want to put up. This is directly from the interview. So effectively, if I summarised what Michael Knighton basically has said and what we've asked him about. So basically, he's going to put a bid in. He has a consortium. They're going to put a bid in for Manchester United. As it says there, the Glazers are probably going to decline and refuse, but if we can turn up and say we've got 30 million Man United fans and key sponsors on our side, you've run out of road, the time is here and now, and you've got to go. I don't think that will make the Glazers go. I don't think Michael Knighton and his consortium think that will make the Glazers go. And what he actually goes, and look, I pinned the article in the top of the live chat, so read it all. I'm very much summarising and then giving my opinion, having read it all. You need to read it yourself because you might come from a different angle. But what I would say is that what he is saying is that him and his consortium have got the financial clout to make a bid. But what he also says is they expect it to be declined, and they also don't have the resources to take Manchester United back to where they need to be. That is key to me. That is absolutely key, because that's honesty. That is not bullshit. And when people are honest and give you the negative, I do tend to think, well, you know what? Maybe nothing happens with this, but at least there's some honesty in there. So what he is saying is that they've got enough money to put a bid in. They expect United to refuse it. But even if they buy it, they haven't got the financial clout within that consortium to then build a stadium, spend £500 million on a new team or anything like that. They can acquire the club. And I would say if the Glazers want 5 billion, this consortium of Michael Knighton might have 3.5 billion, which is a fair price, but the Glazers won't take it. But if they bought it for 3.5 billion, they probably haven't got any more money to pump into the club, which is to be expected because, you know, you buy something and you don't, you know, if you buy a new house, you don't necessarily have the money to put a Porsche and a Ferrari on the drive and, you know, a cinema room. You've got to earn that money to do that, and it takes time. So I think what he's saying is that they've got the money to put a bid in for the club that the Glazers should accept but won't accept. But even if they did accept it, they haven't then got the money to chuck loads of money at a new stadium. And this is why Sir Jim Ratcliffe's been mentioned. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a billionaire. Apparently he's a United fan. He was part of a bid to try and get Chelsea. And what basically, and this is where, for me, this is where, you know, you've got to open your eyes up, is that, you know, Michael Knighton's got a consortium, but he definitely needs a Jim Ratcliffe to come in and sort of take the club to the next level. It's a hostile bid. He doesn't expect it to be successful. It's not. And this is where this interview is really good, and I think you should read it because, you know, summarising it's very easy. But essentially, the bid's there. The Glazers probably won't accept it, but even if they did, they haven't got the money then to build the ground and pump loads of money into the club. They would then be sort of custodians, I suppose. It's a bit like get the Glazers out, buy the club, and then say, we need a billionaire to buy it. And people would say, well, how does that help us? But imagine if I or you found enough money to, you know, I bankrupted myself. I got every bit of money I could just to get the Glazers out of my club. You get the Glazers out, they're off, they're back to America or whatever. I own United. I've got no money left, but I own United. And then I go and do what Chelsea did. United's for sale. United's for sale. 20 different bids come in and then you pick the best bid. And I think that is what I think this is all about. It's about getting the Glazers out with every bit of money you can get and then selling it. And then you get your money back because someone buys it from you. But then hopefully the right buyer comes in, gets United, and then takes it to the next level. I don't know what I think. I don't know what I think because I think every United fan's got a right to be wary. But I actually think there is a bit of honesty in it because it's like, it's not somebody walking in and saying, I'm going to buy United and I'm going to turn it into the greatest thing in the world. It's somebody saying, I'm going to buy United, get the Glazers out, and then I need someone to buy it from us, because we won't have the money left to do anything with it. So I think there's something honest about that, I would say. But obviously it's also destined to fail. This bid can start a bidding war so more people will buy. Yeah, exactly, Marion 5. I actually think the design of it, welcome to Members Club, Eric and Lewis, all the hopes are on Jim Radcliffe. They're going to put in a bid in. But you know what, Sean Turner, it's not always just about Jim Radcliffe, Fly Skyer. I think the previous comment there makes a lot of sense. If we did a GoFundMe and every one of us put a tenner in and there was, you know, enough to raise 5 billion, and we use that 5 billion to get the Glazers out, we'd have no money left. Now, of course, United make money, but we'd have no money left. And United's revenue probably is £100 million profit a year or something. God knows what it is. That's not going to build you a stadium and build you a team. You need a billionaire to come in then. But we would sell it. We would sell it. We would basically go, United's up for sale. And we would see what bids came in, and they'd be bloody loads. That's the most important thing here. I think it's a good idea, although it's probably hard and almost impossible. If you just get hold of United with the right people and they put it up for sale, you then become Chelsea of a few months ago. Chelsea had loads of bids, and you could almost take your pick. And you might pick the wrong person, but you know, at least you can take your pick. And I think that's what this is all about. So I was actually skeptical in the week. I was skeptical. But now I'm like, well, it's got to be better than what this is. I'm not shouting from the rooftops, get behind this bid, because how do you get behind a bid? I think ultimately most Man United fans would get behind any bid that got rid of the Glazers anyway. So I would be behind it. It's not what I would like. I've got to be honest. I've always said we need a viable buyer. And a viable buyer to me is somebody who's got 20 billion quid. They can buy the club for 5 billion and they can put another 5 billion in if they need to. This bid from Michael Knighton and his consortium, they can't do that. But they've put their hands up and said they can't do that. And it involves an investment fund, which I want to talk about in a minute. This is simply a bid to get the Glazers out and then go, we need investment or we need to sell it to somebody who will invest. It's a takeover, isn't it? It's trying to get somebody out. So I feel a bit more not confident. I feel a bit more open to it because it's actually flawed. And I don't mean in a disrespectful way, but it's got weaknesses. If they get hold of United, they won't have the money to do anything. They'll need somebody to buy it off them. But at least that is honest from the start. And it also means that if the Glazers, they're gone. What do you think this is the minimum amount the Glazers would sell the club for, says Mountain Man? Well, the problem is, you make a good point there. The debt and the shoddy stadium are poison pills, says TG. The problem is, we've always been in £500 million worth of debt. The second problem is the Glazers don't want to sell. And that to me is, you know, really, really difficult to surmount because they don't want to sell. If the Glazers woke up tomorrow morning and said United are for sale, we wouldn't need a takeover bid from Michael Knighton and his consortium because that's basically what they would do if they got in the club anyway. They'd put the club up for sale and try and find a good buyer. If the Glazers just put the club up for sale and we had loads of buyers lined up, then but the problem is they'd pick the buyer. And the Glazers might go, oh, there's an American who's going to give us £10 billion for the club who were going to bleed it like us. So this is the important thing. We don't want the Glazers to sell this club. We want to sell this club. And the best way to do that is to force the Glazers out. And I actually, in principle, and there'll be loads of people saying this is wrong, but in principle, I quite like the idea of raising enough money to kick the Glazers out and then basically instantly sell it and go, look, we can't run the club. All we've done is rescue the club. We've raised enough money to get the Glazers out. They're gone. Forget them. They're confined to history. We haven't now got the money to build the club. We've just pumped all our money into getting the club back. We're now going to sell it to the best bidder. But if the Glazers sell it, they're not going to think, oh, there's a Man United fan who wants it. So lifelong United fan with 15 billion quid offers you £4 billion for the club. And they're going to rebuild the club and make it the greatest thing in the world. Businessman offers you 17 billion for the club. They're going to sell it to the businessman. So you can't trust the Glazers to sell it to the right people anyway. They need to be forced out of the club, effectively. So, you know, maybe this is the right plan, maybe it's not the right plan, but there are principles to it that do make sense. I don't see this bid being successful, but I do believe it will be the catalyst that will jumpstart a revolution to get these leashes out, says Chris. And I agree with that, Chris. I do agree with that, because I don't actually know whether Michael Knighton's consortium will be successful. But it may be the first step to being successful, because I think it actually does provide a blueprint. And that blueprint is quite simple. You buy the Glazers out and then you sell the club. Unless you've got a billionaire behind you, you buy the Glazers out and then you sell the club. I'm not amazing at this sort of thing, but effectively, I actually think the United fan base could do it. And I'm not talking to, but I'm aware of a couple of things that are going on at the moment where there are huge amounts of money that could potentially be raised that could then be used to buy Manchester United. But then you would have to sell Manchester United. You're basically trying to raise enough money to buy the Glazers out and then sell it. But if you sell it, you're going to sell it to somebody who's got the best interests of United at heart. If the Glazers sell it, they're going to sell it to the highest bidder to make the Glazers money. We don't want them to sell the club. We want to get them out of the club, and then we want to sell the club to somebody who really we think is best for Manchester United. It's a shame it's taken 17 years for this to happen, because it should have happened in the first place. And, there has to be big questions. I mean, again, I don't feel qualified to do this because I was in a different life back when United were bought by the Glazers. I literally was a fan that used to go to Old Trafford, watch games, lived in Ireland, watch it on the TV. We'd win trophies. Regrettably, I didn't want the Glazers, but I wasn't really educated about it. The people who sold Manchester United to the Glazers are a disgrace, absolute disgrace. And the people who signed it off and put their arms around them, they're a disgrace. They are, because it was very obvious at the time that this was going to happen, and so it's come to pass. Does anyone know if the Glazers have ties to Putin, says Joshua? Perhaps sell 49% of it to raise capital, but keep it with the fans, says Carl. You know what, Carl? I'm probably in the minority here. I'm not actually bothered about fan ownership of the club. It's idealistic and it would be very nice, but I'm not actually that bothered. Do you think Man City fans want fan ownership? Do you think Newcastle fans want fan ownership? Did we want fan ownership, in the early 90s, late 90s? I don't know. I don't remember, because I wasn't that type of United fan at the time. But I don't really care about fan ownership. If we have it, brilliant. If we don't have it, as long as we've got an owner that loves Manchester United and wants us to be winning trophies, why do we need fan ownership? The reason we want fan ownership is because the Glazers aren't like that. This is not the perfect way, but it seems it's the only way at the moment. There are other plans in place, and it's not my place to talk about them. I'm aware of 2 other ways and things that are going on that could be successful but could fall flat on their face. There are other plans in place. This one's gone public because Michael Knighton did that interview, and obviously he's done an interview with us, and I'm sure he'll do a lot more interviews. But there are other things in play as well. I'm aware of 2 of them, and I'm probably not aware of 3 or 4 others. So there are things going on, and if people want to discuss those things with me, any other fan group or anything like that, we're wide open to that. We always have been, and we'll support things as well. For me, it's not about you're not a United fan, you're not a United fan. For me, everyone's a United fan. And there's a really interesting quote as well. I'll get it up in a minute. Could be wrong, but I'm not convinced this bid is even real. It feels like the Glazers advertising, says Loz. No, it's definitely. Why would it be the Glazers advertising, Loz? And if they're advertising to sell, surely that's a good thing. If a multi-billionaire wants United, why not buy it direct from the Glazers with their own hostile takeover, says Graham? Because I don't think there is one, Graham. I think that's the whole point. I think even Michael Knighton in his interview said that he's trying to smoke Jim Radcliffe out, and then his job is done, and he moves aside. He's in the interview with us that you can read on the website, he literally said, "My job is I want to smoke Sir Jim Radcliffe out, and then he buys the club and I step aside. That's it. This is a hostile takeover to try and get hold of United, but no word of a lie." You can read that interview, you can listen to his interview on YouTube. That his consortium doesn't have the money to make United great again. They probably haven't even got the money to buy the club because the Glazers will turn it down. It's an attempt to buy the club, and then when they get the club, sell it to somebody who is a billionaire who can take it on. There's loads of if, buts and maybes. Technically, could all the sponsors support the bid and demand to pull out of the future sponsorship deals? Technically, they could, Martin. Couldn't the fans buy into that case and pay membership dues every year to fund the club? Says Nathan. Look, at the end of the day, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring, and Manchester United could sign De Jong, Antony, keep Ronaldo, buy 3 or 4 players in the next 3 weeks, and beat Brighton 4-0 tomorrow, and then beat Liverpool 3-0 at Old Trafford, and suddenly everyone's going, this is the new world. You know that's not going to happen, but the Glazers can never, ever say they've been hard done by, and neither can Richard Arnold or anybody else at United, because you've had your chance to prove that you care about this football club, and over many years you haven't. So I don't feel any guilt when I say this. They won't sit round a table, they won't talk to fans, they won't do the things that this club needs to do to be successful. So why should we have guilt? We have one life, and we chose Manchester United. Why should we sit back in our one life and go, this club is being run into ruin? You know, some people may never see United win a title again. That sounds far-fetched, but you never know. We've got one life to make a change. The Glazers need to go because they won't change. They're always taking dividends out. They don't see a problem with it. No other club in the Premier League does it. They are not good owners. And whether this consortium works or not, and I don't know. I'm not going to say it will, and I'm not going to say it is. I'm not going to say it's real or it's not real. Those things will come in the trueness of time. But what needs to happen is the Glazers need to go, or they need to change. And if that's not going to happen, then we need to find a way to make that happen. And, you know, I can give you the blueprint right now. If this United fan base was united and unified and did things together, the Glazers wouldn't last 5 weeks. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean on Twitter a few good meaning fans going, walk out of Old Trafford. That's going to get the back. Emptying Old Trafford against Liverpool. I mean, people travel from all over the world. Are they going to turn up to Old Trafford and go, I'm not going to go in? They're going to go in. Like, you can't do that in the space of 2 weeks. It's impossible. We've had protests that everyone sort of agrees with, but not everyone's doing them. We've had walkouts that people sort of agree with, but hardly anyone did it. Unification is everybody. And everywhere you go, you will get people going, wow, yeah, we want the Glazers out. We don't need fucking Goldbridge or such and such or United Stand or that website or that dickhead from London. We don't need any of that. We'll do it our way. Well, sorry, you've already failed, because even if people agree with you, a lot of people will be like, well, that's not unifying the fan base. We have to unify the fan base. You have to target the sponsors. You have to, I mean, to be honest with you, my opinion is that stadium walkouts are very powerful. Protests are very powerful, but you've got to cut the legs off. Man United is a money... You know, how many times have we sat here and said Manchester United's a brand and not a football club? The hint is in the word. It's in the brand. These brands that pay the Glazers money to sponsor Man United, they're not doing it to give the Glazers a Chevrolet or a password for TeamViewer or a bottle of wine. They're doing it because they want you to buy a Chevrolet. They want you to log on to TeamViewer. It's your eyes they want, not the Glazers. So don't give them their eyes. Don't buy the shirts. Don't support Adidas. Don't support Chevrolet. I know Chevrolet don't sponsor us anymore, but those sort of things, it's nothing. And you know what? I think where we've gone wrong is that people start targeting the sponsor. There's nothing wrong with a Man United sponsor, like I've mentioned, wanting your attention. They're paying for your attention. They're interested in you. It's your eyes they want. They're not supporting the Glazers. They're paying to support Manchester United to get your eyes. What we need to do is educate sponsors that don't support the Glazers, basically. There is a way of doing it, but you've got to be unified, and nobody's managed to do that yet. You've got the Man United Supporters Trust, who are trying to push a share scheme that the Glazers own. You've got this consortium that is trying to tell people not to support that share scheme and support hostile bids. There's a couple of other things that are going on as well. So there's a lot of confusion in the fan base, and on top of that, you've got a lot of division in the fan base, which I never understand. I cannot get on board, and I was talking to somebody on Twitter today about this. I was saying we need unification in the fan base, and people will come back and say, well, you're the worst person for dividing the fan base. What? It's not my fault I've got 23,000, 24,000 watching the show. I don't force people to watch. They probably watch because we probably offer something different that people like. We probably offer a debate that people might not agree with, but they enjoy the conversation. Whether McTominay plays in the midfield, or Bruno should be dropped, or Maguire should be captain, that's not dividing the fan base. That's just opinion about a football team that's performed shit for years. I don't get that. I don't get how I or anybody else divides the fan base because we're negative about decisions that have made United shit for 10 years. How is that divisive? I would understand. I would take responsibility if I'd been doing this in the 90s and I'd gone, Roy Keane's shit, he shouldn't be captain. Fuck David Beckham off, absolute waste of space. All he's bothered about is selling fucking boots for Adidas. And as for Gary Neville, what a shit right back he is. He's a fucking waste of space. That, I would hold my hand up and say, if people were popping at me on Twitter saying you're negative and you're dividing the fan base, I would take it on board. Because Gary Neville was bloody good, Beckham was world class, and Roy Keane's the best captain we've had. Going on Twitter or on this channel or anywhere else and saying McTominay shouldn't start tomorrow, Maguire shouldn't be captain, and Bruno deserves to be dropped, that's not bloody divisive. We finished 6th last year and we lost to Brighton last week. That's not divisive, it's a bloody opinion. These opinions have been at school, down the pub, on the bus, ever since I could talk about football. That's not divisive. That's football. I went to many a game when I was a kid, many a game throughout my life, and I've heard it on the terrace. I've heard fans go, fucking get off that pitch, you're a cunt, all that sort of stuff. Sorry for the language. I've heard it all my life. All I ever talk about on here is all I've ever heard all my life, whether it's from friends, family, whatever. That's just how I've been brought up over many years about football. It's not divisive, it's just talking about bloody football. That's got sod all to do with what we're talking tonight. When I say that this fan base needs to be unified to remove the Glazers and get the club back, that's got nothing to do with whether you think McTominay should play tomorrow. If you think McTominay should play tomorrow, well done. It doesn't mean we have to fall out. If I think he shouldn't play tomorrow because he's crap, that doesn't mean we should fall out. That's just an opinion about the club we love. Talking about the Glazers, we all want the bloody Glazers out. Why are you falling out with people and going, don't include them on this. They can't be part of this because they think that Rashford should get subbed. What a load of shit. They are very, very different. Talking about day-to-day team selections and falling out is not the same as being unified in getting the Glazers out. But unfortunately, that's the petty world we live in. We can't unify this fan base because there's too many divisions based on stupid things like, he said that Ollie should get sacked. It's ridiculous. We need to unify because, and Michael Knighton said this as well, so I'm not going to blame, I'm not going to take responsibility for it, and I don't know whether I can put it up on the screen. This is the one. We need every Manchester United fan worldwide to support this bid. You're right, it's a hostile bid. The club isn't for sale. I don't necessarily agree that you need to support that bid. But I do agree. I'm not going to tell people to support this bid. That's not my place to do that. You can say it's bollocks. He tried to buy the club in the late 80s. I don't trust him. You can say I think he's the best thing since sliced bread. You can say it's just publicity. You can say all sorts of things. It doesn't really matter to me. But the truth of that is, it's not about whether you support this bid. It's the club isn't for sale. We need every Man United fan unified. That's what we need. And very quickly we would get rid of the Glazers. I know for a fact, because I observed these things, that the Glazers have stayed at this club longer than they should have done because we fight with each other. Divide and conquer. It's not my word. It's been around for years and years and years. Divide and conquer. You go to war You look at wars of the past. Wars are based on falling outs or ideologies. We believe in this, we believe in that. Let's go to war, let's see who wins. There is also a different way to win a war. Divide and conquer. If you're the enemy and that's United fans and you go for head to head, I think United fans win. But if you're the enemy and that's United fans and you break them up into different areas so that they're fighting amongst each other, they weaken themselves. You never go to war because you're strong and they're fighting with each other. And that's where we've always gone wrong. We fight amongst each other. The only thing I've seen that, and I got very excited about it at the time, was the Super League. Because the Super League was such a disgrace that it united us all. And then it fell away again. So, you know, I don't know what the next step is, but I know there's a lot of things going on, and I just hope that ultimately it doesn't really matter what bid you support. It doesn't really matter, you know, what's successful or not successful. We know that the Glazers will not give this club up easy. They won't give it up easy because they make so much money out of it. I've said this before. The Glazers have got so much money locked up in assets or in loads of different things. But the thing that pays them their pocket money every year is Manchester United. They've probably got property worth billions. But until they sell that, they don't get the money for it. But what does Man United do? Man United pays their wage. Man United gives them 20 million, 25 million, 30 million a year in dividends. They're using United as their bank account. You know, when they want to go on a holiday or buy a yacht or you know, put the kids through school or whatever, or the grandkids, United, it's the dividends from United that are paying their wage. That's why they've had £11 million in June. £11 million isn't much to the Glazers, but £11 million shared out amongst them, well, that's their wage for the next 6 months. We're just a cash cow to the Glazers. And that needs to change. It's how we change it. And this community, and look, this community is not the be all and end all. It's a drop in the ocean. There's loads of communities out there, but this community will support anything that wants to unify this fan base and make change to this football club. But it will not support things that are, you know, about falling out and being divisive. And that's why at the start of this week, I was like, you know, we need to find this information out for ourselves. And that interview that is pinned at the top of the chat is well worth a read. I know you're reluctant to push agendas that cause division, but you have a massive voice and would make real change. We need unity, which is exactly what I've just said, Scott. And as I've said before, this door is always open, and you're going to see things on this channel over the next few months that are going to really show how open that door is. The door is open. Some people slam the door in our face without even talking to us. They make decisions. That's up to them. It's a free world. But the door is open to make real change. And as I said to, I even nearly named names then, we did a bit with Manchester United Supporters Trust a few months ago, and loads of people complained about it. Why have you got them involved? And they had to take us off the website. And I just said, look, anytime you want to use us, we can be used. But people go, don't work with them, don't work with them. And I'm like, well, you know, I can't do anything about that. Can't do anything about that. Please lead by example and collaborate with other fan channels, says Slim. Why do we need to collaborate with other fan channels? We're the biggest fan channel in the world. It's not for me to go and knock on the door of fan channels. We're the biggest fan channel in the world. I don't really care about other fan channels because we're the biggest. And that's not arrogant. But what I'm saying is, it's not other fan channels we need to collaborate with. It's other. It's not that. That's not the problem. Fan channels. The problem is the stigma with a fan channel. And I don't see United Stand as a fan channel. I think we're a community. We're a fan community, just like every other fan community. There's loads of you. It's a massive, massive, massive platform. And it's open to working with other platforms. And when I say that, I'm talking about other organisations. Other fan channels are irrelevant because, you know, you're pissing in the same pot. What unification for me is actually bringing different sections of the fan base together. Fan forums, you know, Manchester United Supporters Trust, Red Army, everything else. That would be something unique. I couldn't give a shit about other fan channels because, with all due respect, we're the biggest by a long way. In fact, I think you can combine all the other fan channels together and you wouldn't even get barely half of what the community we've got. That's not arrogance. Uniting with other fan channels is completely irrelevant. It's uniting the fan base we need to do. And I think everyone agrees with that. Mark, I know you're... So, nice shirt, Mark. Blue. I've just been out. That's why I was a bit late. Why didn't this or any other bid come after the Super League disaster, or was there, says Arjun? There's been bids. There has been bids. But the problem is the Glazers want so much for Manchester United. But look, all I would say is, you know, I've had a couple of Peronis tonight. And I think I've done quite well to try and talk about something that's quite serious. But read the interview. Read the interview. My summary is this. I don't think that this bid will be successful. Even if it is successful, it won't make us great again. This is about trying to get the Glazers out to then basically... It's basically what I would like to do. I would like to get hold of Man United and then say it's for sale. And then have 20 bids come in and go, what's best for this football club? And I think that's what this consortium bid from Michael Knighton is. And the interesting thing is, and we did ask him this question, he said that part of his consortium is an investment fund. Well, an investment fund wants its money back, because an investment fund is, there's 2 million to go and do something and we want 3 million back in the future. So an investment fund is not Man United fans. And he acknowledged that and said it's a good question. They will want their money back, but the aim is to get hold of United and then get somebody to buy it, and then the investment fund gets its money back. So look, he didn't lie and he didn't dress it up in any other way. If they get hold of United, they haven't got the money to make United great again. And if they get hold of United, they basically need somebody to come in and buy it from them to take it to the next level. But there is an honesty to that, because people will go, well, why do we want them to be successful then? They basically want to get hold of United, then sell it and get their money back. Yeah, probably they do. But they get hold of United and then they sell it to somebody that's going to make United better, which is very different to what we have at the moment, because the Glazers may keep United for 30 years and just keep taking dividends out. So what would you rather have? The Glazers for the next 20 years, or this consortium that gets hold of it and then puts us out to tender and tries and finds a good buyer that's going to take us forward? You're going to go with that one every time. But there are other options. There are other attempts to get hold of United. So it's not about that bid. Let's hope that that proves to be successful. But there are other things going on. But it's going to take time, which brings us back to reality. Radcliffe won't buy United, too much debt. We need an owner with the vision and the pockets. For me, I'd like Robert Kraft, Patriots owner, says United have. We've spoken about that. Read the article. It's pinned at the top of the chat. But back to reality. Nobody's buying United and saving us this season. Nobody's probably buying United and saving us next season. We are where we are now. We've got a manager, we've got a game tomorrow, and we've got a transfer window that closes in 3 weeks. So it's back to reality. There goes gravity. Bit of an update, actually. Bit of a change of pace as well. This came in a little bit earlier. John Murtagh left Turin without an agreement with the mother of Rabiot. John Murtagh is going to come out of this bloody transfer window, and at least he can say he's been to Barcelona and Turin, because we know he went to Barcelona and he didn't get De Jong, and we know he's been to Turin and he hasn't got Rabiot yet. But what an embarrassing state of affairs. Nobody really was that excited about Rabiot when it broke last Sunday, and a week later he still hasn't got the deal done. I mean, his reputation as a director of football is in the mud. Peppa Pig. It's terrible. He's been to it must, I don't know why he doesn't do Zoom calls. Because at least if he does a Zoom call, the only way people's going to know he's done it is if he gets hacked. But he goes to Turin, everyone photographs him. He goes to Barcelona, everyone photographs him. And he comes back with nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's embarrassing how bad his summer as a director of football's been. You got Richard Arnold telling us in June that he's working from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and he's done nothing. He sold Pereira to Fulham. He's bought Martinez for too much money. He got Malacia and he got a free transfer. That is his summer. You can't dress it up any other way. He got a free transfer. He got Malacia from Feyenoord for 12 million. He overpaid for Martinez and he sold Pereira. That's John Murtagh's summer. And a couple of trips to Barcelona and Turin. I want this guy to be successful. I had people I respect telling me, this is going to be the summer of Murta. Murta madness. He's a good guy. He knows what he's doing. He's free from Woodward. He's going to express himself now. I've got to hold and give and do it at the right time. You can be slow or fast. No, I'm not singing that. But he's absolutely bottled it. He's got to get that collar on a Scotty M and let's get serious, as David Sherwin. Yeah, it's not been good. It's not been good. Murta should be the new Alan Wicker, travelling everywhere, says Malps. If you know, you know. In politics, the stalking horse is well known. A no-hoper stands against the incumbent and then more credible candidates join the challenge, says Graham. And I think that's a great assessment of what this Michael Knighton consortium could be. I think it is that. It creates the conversation and we need to keep that creation going on. Our club executive washing jet fuel for photo ops and zero results, says Josh. Need to get lots of ex-players to speak up about the Glazers more than Gary Neville. The fans would unite a lot more after that, says BDF. Look, nothing can't help, but you know, it's a difficult one for me, that, because I like Gary Neville, I like Paul Scholes, I like Roy Keane, but they also talk a bit of shit. They do. Like, I talk loads of shit, but you talk loads of shit, but they also talk a load of shit. And I don't necessarily think they're completely in tune with what's best for United. You know, some of their ideas about players we should sign or managers we should get. I mean, one of those three or two of them said go and get Diego Simeone as the manager. I mean, look, just because you're a legend on the pitch, and all three of those players are legends, Scholes, Keane and Neville, legends, absolute legends. I love them. Created great memories. But just because you're a legend as a footballer doesn't mean you know what's best for Manchester United. And what I mean by that, Paul Gascoigne's one of the most natural footballers, gifted footballers I've ever seen. I wouldn't trust him with my Tesco shop. And I think that's a great point, because just because you're a legend on the pitch doesn't mean you're a legend between the ears. You know, I suppose what I'm trying to say is it's the same thing as when we appointed Solskjaer. He was a legend. He was a crap manager. I would rather have had Ten Hag or Tuchel or Ancelotti, who've never played for United, over Roy Keane or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as manager. I want specialism. That's what Man United need. Specialism in football. That's why we need a proper director of football. We need Elon Musk to buy United, says Joe. We know what? We don't even need to name the person. We need somebody who cares about the football club and wants us to be the best. Could the talks of a takeover make the window worse for United, says Brian? I don't think so. Murta could go to the red light and leave without a happy ending, says David Sherwin. And Mark, you didn't read this earlier, so please give for, as long as it's not Saudi Arabia, Qatar, China or any other nation state seeking soft power via ownership of one of the world's most powerful brands, says DPL. And Frankie de Jong was 1 to 25 weeks ago to join United. Now he's 11 to 4. Hang your head in shame, John Murta, says Johnny from Donny. So yeah, look, I mean, look, yeah, just going back to the transfer chat, because we will digress, I'm sure, but you know, even Rabiot, that nobody really wants, we're still dragging it out. With Rabiot, it's like, you know when you do something you don't really want to do and you're like, just get it over with. That's what it's like for me. It's like having a pimple on your arse popped. Just get it done. Don't talk to me about it for a week. And nobody really wants this Rabiot deal, and nobody's really excited about it. I think we're all just like, get him in, he's better than McTominay, put him in the team and let's see what happens. We're dragging a deal out that nobody bloody really cares about. Like, if you're going to do this deal, get it done last Sunday, get him training this week and start him against Brentford. But to be going back and forth to fucking Italy and negotiating, I've not spoken to any fan that's gone, I can't wait for this deal to happen. But United are dragging it out like it's like they're negotiating for Neymar. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're not quite there with Rabiot yet. They think they're fucking negotiating for a big player, a superstar, and they're not. They're negotiating for a player that most people wouldn't really want. And it's still not done. And it hurts. Because if we did have proper owners, we wouldn't be doing stupid things like this. We've got bad owners, a bad CEO, and a bad director of football. And it's compounded every waking hour with crappy decisions. I'd do a better job as director of football, and I'd do a better job as CEO. And people can laugh at that, but I know I would. Because I care about United and I want us to be successful on the football pitch. And these people we've got in post, they're not United fans. John Murtaugh's not a United fan. Richard Arnold's not a United fan. And the Glazers are not United fans. They don't care. They're just doing a job. And anyone can do a job. But if you've got people who are passionate about the job, you'll get better results. And that is why we are where we are. Because it doesn't matter enough. It matters to us. It doesn't matter to them. What do you call a CEO who kills kills multiple transfers stone dead? A mass murderer, says Sam. He's a director of football, that's why he threw me. With Rabiot and his mum, I'm getting Bates Motel vibes. If you know, you know, says Kareem. And John Murtaugh couldn't close a screen door, much less a deal for a second-rate midfielder, says United have. Yeah, well, look, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But with Murtaugh, with Rabiot, we're going to pay a lot of money. We're going to pay a lot of money. And for me, you know, the scary thing is, like, you know, you buy Rabiot. Imagine we get rid of the Glazers. Next summer, we get new owners and they go, we never should have bought him in the first place. How do you get rid of him? You get stuck with a player like that for years. So, yeah, I just think it's a bad signing. But as I said, you know, I had somebody messaging me today going, oh, you're so negative and divisive, going against Rabiot before he's even here. Hold on a minute. Lou Macari. There's Twitter accounts out there that say followed by Lou Macari. I'm a top red, right? Lou Macari on MUTV, owned by Man United. MUTV, Man United TV. Lou Macari saying, I've got a bad feeling about Rabiot. He doesn't really have any qualities. Don't tell me I'm being negative. I just realised Woodward was the best of this lot. Transfer negotiations. Scary thoughts, says Stephen Rossi. Sky are saying that Kaladzic, the Stuttgart 25-year-old 6'7" Austrian striker, wants to come to United, by the way. Man United are trying to not give Eric Bailly on loan. They want to sell him. Xabi has said in relation to De Jong, I like the player, but let's see what happens by 31st of August. So, yeah. And apparently, the right backs we're looking at, if we get rid of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, are Max Aarons, Walker Peters and Juranovic. You're having a laugh. You're having a laugh. The right back that Ten Hag wants is Dumfries. So if we're now looking at Max Aarons, Walker Peters and Juranovic, that's changed as well. Because it was Dumfries that he wanted. So, I don't know. I don't know. I genuinely do not know what's going on with United. It feels like every option A has automatically become option Z. Rabiot was never on the list. Arnautovic was never mentioned until last week. We're scraping the barrel. We're scraping the barrel. And we need to win tomorrow because, God, we need some positivity. I like Max Aarons. I do like Max Aarons, but we've never really seriously been in for him and he wasn't what... There's no way Eric Ten Hag would say go and get Max Aarons. He wouldn't know enough about Max Aarons at Norwich. He wanted Dumfries. That's who he wanted. So I imagine that Walker Peters, Max Aarons and Juranovic are a lot cheaper than Dumfries. And that's why we'll be going for them. Jealous of how well Edu and Arteta work together. Need that at United. Dreaming of a Van der Sar swoop. Will never happen to the Glazers though, says Richard. Yeah, well, you know what? You're probably right. Congratulations on Ronaldo for getting nominated for the Ballon d'Or for the 18th time. The consistency, dedication, mentality. An example for anyone. People were actually getting moody that Ronaldo got nominated for the Ballon d'Or. They were like, how's he managed that? I'll tell you how he's managed that. He scored 18 Premier League goals in the shittest United side I've ever seen. He deserves more than the Ballon d'Or. He deserves a Pride of Britain award. You know, he deserves a Bravery award. He deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. He deserves everything he bloody well gets. Because 18 goals in that team is the equivalent of 50 goals in a decent team. I don't know how he scored 18 goals last year in that team. We were bloody rubbish. We created nothing. And he still scored 18 goals. Premier League goals. He scored more than 18 goals across the season. But I actually think Ronaldo being nominated for the Ballon d'Or is intelligent, because why should it always be a team that gets to the final of the Champions League or does well, wins the league? Like, we were crap last year. Damn right Ronaldo should get nominated for a Ballon d'Or. 18 Premier League goals in that side. It's a bloody miracle. He deserves it. Am I the only one? He won't win the Ballon d'Or anyway, but what I'm saying is nomination's fine. Am I the only one who thinks Lamptey, right back from Brighton, seems like someone we should be in for? He doesn't start for Brighton though anymore, Macafetti. So, anyway, look, I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Something a bit different. What I would say is, I may not have done it justice, or I may have done it justice, but unity is really important. When it comes to infighting, I just don't get it. I think we can disagree on what players we want to start and whether you want Ronaldo to stay or Rashford to stay. I get that. We can disagree on that. But this pontificating and arrogance and elitism in the fan base is killing us. Like, there are people I probably don't like if I meet them in the fan base. But ultimately, I don't really care, because together we can make a difference. We need that mentality needs to come through. But for some reason, it bothers people and they can't do it. We need to be unified. And there's a lot of other options out there. And you might become aware of them in the next few weeks as well. But what we need to learn is to be unified. I've seen so much fighting about stupid things. I mean, the biggest one was when there was a protest a week before the main protest. And it was like, that's a social media protest. This is the real one. They're United fans protesting. Like, why could you not have done it all on the same day? Why do people need to go in factions? Work together. Simple as that. We're looking at Sergio Dest, according to Forbes, as Ashwin. And to put our transfer window in perspective, go to Transfer Market and compare FA's Balotelli versus Kaladzic, Grealish versus Rabiot, and Januzaj versus Gakpo, says Shunt. If we got a new owner, they'd probably bring in a brand new CEO, a brand new director of football, and bring specialists in instead of mates. Thanks everyone for watching. Tomorrow's match day. It's going to be a big day. What am I doing tomorrow? Morning show. Everton versus Villa at lunchtime on That's Football, and then United 5:30 tomorrow, and then Talk Sport at 8 o'clock with a call-in, which I think will be a lot of United fans because we'll have just finished. So lots going on tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, and I'll speak to you all soon. Don't forget to check the article out. It will take you about 5 minutes to read it. It's pinned at the top of the chat, or you can go to theunitedstand.com. Interesting read.